Today we're going to use Jean-Michel Basquiat as our inspiration, looking at him as a graffiti artist, and we're going to create a background that looks like billboards that have been ripped through, and we're going to add an energetic portrait on top of it. Today we're going to start by making a Basquiat collage. So first of all, what you're going to need is something like an Amazon package, and just cut it down into A4, A3, it's up to you. Next you're going to need some newspaper, and you're going to make it quite layered. So start with larger pieces of newspaper. You can choose which images that you want to have on your work, but remember they're not all going to be seen because we're going to be ripping and overlaying some of the areas. Continue to overlap the newspaper and magazine images. Just you want to create something that looks like there's been layers that have been torn down over time. So think of something like a billboard, for example, with adverts on, and the layers have been ripped off over time. I'm using some brown paper to overlay on top of the magazine articles and the newspaper, just because that kind of gives me a little bit more of a blank surface on certain areas, because we're going to be drawing on top of it next. You don't have to do this, but it's up to you. Generally you could find like some old envelopes and just overlay again. Allow some areas of picture to come through so you can see the layers. Once you're happy with your background collage, then you can start adding a little bit of graffiti in the background. It might be just name tags. Try and use different colours just to make it look like it is like a wall, or again like a billboard that perhaps has graffiti on top of it. Using a picture of Basquiat that I have on my phone, I'm just going to copy down the image, and I want this image, my drawing, to have a lot of energy, so I'm working quite quickly. First of all, I'm adding in the face shape, then I'm going to think about where the eyes are, which come fairly far down the head. I'm adding in my eyebrows. The eyes generally around halfway from the top of the head down to the chin, but that's thinking about where the hairline is as well. Adding in nostrils, think about the darker shaded areas on the side of the nose, and also the top lip and underneath the bottom lip. These areas are essential darks that we need to add in. I'm continuing to keep my lines energetic. Starting on the hair next. Think of the shape of the hair coming outward, upwards and outwards, and again you want to capture some of Basquiat's energy and speed in the way that you work. It doesn't have to look perfect. Remembering his work is inspired by music, energy, flow, so that's what we want to try and capture in the work, and excitement as well. So again, I'm adding in the pupils here, leaving a little area for a highlight. It's up to you if you want to do it in this style, or if you want to do it in more of a stencil style. It's totally up to you. Again, I'm adding in areas of the shadow, so I'm using a diagonal line and quickly going back and forth, back and forth. I can see in the photograph that a lot of that side of the right side of the head is in shadow, so I'm just making this quite contrasting to the other side of the face, adding in the shaded areas, and a lot of the hair I've shaded in, and I'm adding in the shoulders. Continue to add shading and energetic lines. I've added in the hand coming up to the face here, just like in the photograph, and the shoulders coming off. If there's any areas that you think, oh, it's not working quite as well as how I want it to, then you can go back to it and you can change the shape of the head, for example, like I'm doing here. I'm feeling like it's a bit too long, so I'm making it slightly wider, coming out a little bit further from the image. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's more about the energy that's going in. When you finish, just post this on Seesaw and explain which artist you're looking at.